So our subject is CS003 Bridge Engineering. So this is a professional course that is being taken up by those students who have chosen structural engineering specialization. So before I start the discussion, I just want to have a little disclaimer here. This presentation may contain errors that will be corrected in class. It is the responsibility of the student to take note of these corrections. This may be considered as a supplementary material only and should not be used as a substitute to the class discussions and reading materials. Not everything that the student needs to know is included in these notes. No part of this presentation, photos, problems, etc. is owned by the instructor. Credit goes to the respective owners. Fair use of copyrighted materials was observed. And then I just want to have a little reminder to everyone that this PowerPoint presentation is a property of the instructor. No part of this presentation may be copied, photographed, printed, reproduced, shared, transmitted, translated, or reduced to any electronic medium or machine-readable form, in whole or in part, without prior consent of the instructor. So please refrain from sharing this presentation, especially on any online platform for distribution. So please refrain from doing so. So the references that I have used in my lecture on this presentation, first is the Bridge Engineering by Tonyas and Zhao. So this is the Bridge Engineering book, Design, Rehabilitation, and Maintenance of Modern Highway Bridges. So the latest edition is the 4th edition. And I recommend the students to grab a copy of this book because I will be using this as our main reference on this particular subject. Although this edition is still not readily available on the internet, so you can just grab a copy of this on the website of the publisher, which is the McGraw-Hill Education. So if your school has a subscription on the publisher, the McGraw-Hill Education, so I recommend to check on that, especially if you have a remote library. So please check this book because I will be using this as our main reference. Another reference book that I have used is The Design of Highway Bridges by Barker and Paquet. So this is the book. Although this book here, The Design of Highway Bridges, an LRFD approach, the 3rd edition, is still using the previous edition of AASHTO LRFD, which is the AASHTO 2010, and the edition of AASHTO that we will be using on this subject is the AASHTO 2012 because it is the reference of our local code, which is the DGCS made by Department of Public Works and Highways. So this is the AASHTO 2012 that we will be using. AASHTO LRFD Bridge Design Specifications 2012 version, edition. So we will be using this. I recommend again to have a copy of this code. And lastly, our local code that I will be using is the DGCS, the Design Guidelines, Criteria, and Standards, Volume 5, Bridge Design 2015, uh, from the Department of Public Works and Highways, Bureau of Design. So I have used AASHTO 2012 because as I checked our local code, it is still using the AASHTO 2012 edition of the code. Although there is already a newer version of AASHTO, but still, since our local code is still using the AASHTO 2012, so we will just stick to that edition of the code. And then lastly, last reference that I have used is Google for some images and video clips.